Y vamos a empezar la grabación. We're going to start recording here for those who regularly watch or need to watch today en línea, que van a ver todo en línea. Espero que ustedes estén bien. I hope you are all well. Today is our last session of spring. So next week we will not have a class. That is the week off between sessions. It's the week for makeups if instructors have to schedule one class. Actually, I had to reschedule one class. And so next week there will be no session, but we will start up right away first week of June. Oh, aquí viene Tomás. Wow, Tomás is coming on in. Excelente. Ok. Bueno, entonces, es la última clase de la primavera. It's our last class for spring session. Today, I want to hit real hard on the me gusta and some things that relate to me gusta. But before we get into that, and before we do like guided practice and then turn you loose for some smaller group practice on me gusta, I do want to open up the floor for any questions you may have on the readings, on finishing up those little books, anything about vocabulario, anything about estructura, about word order, about why did they use this phrase. Feel free to bring that up. If you did not open up the chat option, make sure you do that, as I am likely to type things in the chat box as people bring them up. ¿Hay alguna pregunta? Is there some kind of question from anything you read? Okay, Nora, sí.
I had a question about the word hacia. It seems like they used it quite a bit in one of the chapters where they said el taxi va hacia la nueva casa. Why didn't they just say va a la nueva casa?
Okay, es buena pregunta. That is a good question. I'm going to type in the chat box the word that Nora has a question on. Is hacia, hacia. Okay, not hacia, but hacia. Hacia means toward or towards. I don't know which one is correct in English. En inglés, no sé. Hacia means towards, in the direction of. Why do they use that instead of this much simpler word, which means to, you know? Hacia is toward, it's a little more general. If you say somebody is going towards the beach, towards the shore, let's say, a shoreline would be a little less specific as an endpoint than, say, going to a store or to a library or to somebody's house. Hacia is just a more general word that indicates in a certain direction. Esto. So it may be more common, to say something like, fuimos hacia la orilla. We went towards the shore. Because a shore is kind of a more, a shore could be any number of geographic points where the sand meets the water. Por ejemplo, otro ejemplo, manejamos hacia las montañas. We drove towards the mountains. We drove in that direction. We drove into this great big mountain region. But, it's a more general destination, not maybe to the mountaintop, but in that direction. ¿Sí? ¿Está bien? Vale, magnífico. Hay otra pregunta. Is there another question? Bueno, sí. A ver, Pam, sí, dime.
En pobre Ana, en 34, los tres andan, walk. Why that as opposed to caminar?
Oh, los tres, does it say los tres, the three?
It says los tres.
Los tres andan?
Andan.
Okay. Andan, andar, there are two verbs that mean doing this action. Okay, in Spanish. One is andar, one is caminar. they are just getting you used to a couple of different synonyms for the word walk. And actually there are, you could even say more things that relate to taking a walk. You know how sometimes we have words that are like
Stroll and walk.
gradations, let's say, you know, have different slightly, very, very slight shades of meaning, but are very close in meaning. Andar and caminar are basically synonyms. They're words that are generally interchangeable. I think you can say that caminar is a little more common perhaps in Mexico for general conversational use, whereas andar is a little more common conversationally in Spain. But people in all countries know what both of those mean. But there are a lot of words that can talk, or a lot of combinations of word phrases that can talk about walking, okay? So just to give you an idea, just as we have walk, stroll, someone ambles along, that gives you a very different feel than just walking to the store, but we ambled it along, right? So we've got a number of different verbs. You could use pasear, like I've got down in the chat box, pasear. Pasear is more like stroll. It's more like a leisurely walk, a pasear, yeah? Pasear would indicate somebody's not in a hurry. Their main objective is not to get from point A to point B. Okay, if you're doing pasear. Pasear is more for just pleasure, enjoyment, enjoying yourself. So it's more like strolling, an enjoyable kind of walk. You may hear people use a different phrase, combination of words to express that idea of a stroll. Dar un paseo. Paseo is a pass, a turn. Taking a walk, say, around the block is dar un paseo. Same thing for dar una vuelta. A vuelta is a turn, like a lap. Like a lap around a block, around a neighborhood. Dar una vuelta means you're just going around and coming on back. So a lot of different verbs here. They use dar, they use pasear, andar, caminar. A lot of times we can throw different verbs into the mix, but they may have different little nuances as to how fast. Is it a purposeful walk? Is it just for pleasure? Is it something that's just quick, make one lap around and then come on back? Okay, bien?
Pregunta.
Sí, Mariana.
How about hiking? Is that differentiated? Because I always.
Okay. See, hiking is kind of differentiated. You could use just caminar. You can, and again, they may have some. You may hear different phrases used in different in different regions. It may be different just because they want to give a more sporty feel to it, but I can give you some phrases people would use for hike. They may use just caminar,
Okay.
could, but dar un paseo wouldn't do it because that has a
Right.
kind of a leisurely, whereas hike has more of a, yeah, you know, you're not going super slow if you're doing a hike, right?
Mhm.
So for hike, often people might use hacer una caminata. And you can see that the word caminata is very similar to caminar.
Mhm.
Hacer una caminata. Okay, we can't turn, a caminata is already a verb, so I can't turn it into more of a verb, but I can say hacer una caminata, take a hike. You can also use, es posible, it is also possible to say dar una caminata. this verb dar, which means give, that doesn't make, wow, give a hike? Does that make any sense? But it's what they use. It's like dar un paseo. You don't give a stroll, but you take a stroll, right? But it's just a verb they like to use with that kind of movement of walking around. So dar un paseo for a slower pace, right? But dar una caminata can mean take a hike. Also, there is a word in Spanish. The word sendero, which looks like send, means a trail or a path. Okay, so another term you may hear people use for hiking is hacer senderismo. Senderismo is sometimes used as a noun for the action of hiking, for the activity. El senderismo. Por ejemplo, if I want to say I enjoy hiking, I like hiking. Me gusta el senderismo. I like hiking. And now that gives a feel to it. Senderismo really, really gives a feel of it's a sport. It's something I take seriously as I try to go pretty in, as a strenuous activity, serious exercise. Senderismo sends a signal, serious exercise, not just I'm kind of out there on a Sunday and I hardly ever do this. So hacer senderismo is often used for walking, and that's going to mean some strenuous walking up and down hills, through canyons, wherever, okay? Senderismo gives it a very sporty feel. Es buena pregunta, Mariana. Gracias. Okay, ¿qué más? ¿Hay más? Anything else from your reading? Anything you marked? So, you know, okay, see, Jan.
Okay, so not from the reading, but for this summer, are we going to read the book that we didn't read this time?
Oh, you mean if you got the two?
Right.
Or you got one or the other? I will leave that open. I am going to, I am in the process of finding another book.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I was going to show you the book I had in mind. Yeah, you could, if you got Pobre Ana, you could get El Escape Cubano. That would be a good choice. So you could get the other. And actually, we should talk a little bit about that in a minute. En un minuto, Jan. Sí. Okay. We'll cover that once I make sure nobody else has any other questions from the reading. Sí or no? No? Nada? Nada? Okay. Vale. Magnifico. Okay. So let's tackle that. Let's tackle that issue, and I'm going to do some share screen so you can see the books I have in mind. And
I
actually,
wondered if anybody has read along with the transcript on the Duolingo podcast. I just listened to my first one, and they said you could go online and get the.
They have a whole series of little stories.
Yeah, I just listened to the first one.
I'm trying to remember if some of them, if they distinguish between some that are just audio and some that are reading. I do not remember. I'll have to go back and look at that.
Okay.
But that is
the book is
definitely
so handy with the index back there.
The book is handy with the index, and one of the big pluses is that probably as high as 99% of every single word in that book is indexed somewhere, and sometimes as a whole phrase. And sometimes when you look something up, you find out, wow, this is like a series of 3 words all strung together, right?
Yeah.
Because of that, when you hear some of these videos I put out and they talk about chunks of words, that's what they're talking about. Sometimes you cannot express an idea as a 1-word idea. Like hacer senderismo. you know, doing hiking, participating in hiking, like that. Sometimes it may be a 2 or 3 or 4 word series
Right.
of things, you know, that's the way it goes. Anybody else done those? See? No? Okay. It is a good source to use. I am quite sure they've got some decent things in there. Okay. I'm going to show you some ideas. So a little bit of planning for summer here. One of my ideas, and I'm trying to pick things that don't have a ton of past tense in them for now. But, you know, a little bit of it would be hard to avoid, and it would be earmarked in the back as past tense, even if it's there. So, you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because none of these are going to be high level, difficult to read books, none of them. Okay. We've got mi proprio auto. Okay, it is definitely a teen type book. Tomas, was this the one I had given you for last time? No. Okay. This one, they call it mid-novice, so you'll probably find a little bit of past in there, but again, they will define it when you find it and look it up. That would probably be my top pick for the next level up. Okay, here's the other one. If you did Pobre Ama last time, I would say El Escape Cubano is an excellent one. So if you did Pobre Ama, then I strongly suggest this one, El Escape Cubano. This one in particular has lots of those 2, 3 word string type phrases that string together. Lots of combinations like le da, he gives him. That is super helpful to know because they're very, very common. I believe that Donde Está Eduardo has some, I think that's got a fair amount of past tense in there. Oh yeah, they say past tense. I had forgotten about that one. So let's omit that one from here. So I'm going to say El Escape Cubano. If you did not get that, go for that next time. And again, any source you find that is whatever is the least expensive works. ¿Dónde está? Uy, a ver. En la página 2, must be on the second page. Yeah, mi propio auto would be the other. Okay. Mi propio auto, which means my own car. Okay. O el escape cubano. Yeah, see? Bien?
Bien.
Vale. Okay. And whatever source. TPRS Books is a good source. Fluency Matters is another source. I'm going to go and see if I can pull up their website. This is another source. I don't know if they will have these particular books, but they do sell books. And, you know, check Amazon, check the used book market. There may be used books out there with these little books because, as Nora had mentioned, her daughter had it. There are a lot of people who get these for high school and then they put them back into the youth. And getting this used is A-okay. Even if it says it's only in kind of good condition, kind of marked up, that's not a big deal. You know, we're not buying War and Peace here. So it's not the Brothers Karamazov. It's not Shakespeare. So, you know, used however you can find at least expensive. If you're an Amazon Prime person, you get free shipping on everything and it's cheapest that way, do that for sure. But I would say it might take you tops 10 minutes navigating the web to find something that's, it's like, okay, it's a good price that I like that. I think that will work. So any of those three sources. ¿Está bien?
Marilyn,
Easy.
on the Pobere Anna,
Mhm.
once you finish it, you can flip it and it goes into past tense. Should we try to do that as well?
Oh, they've changed that since I last saw that book. So so there's like a second half to it. Wow.
Right. Once you
I
finish
would-
it, it
I would
says
say,
flip the
yeah.
book over.
I would say go for that and play with that this week. Yeah. Play with that, see how it's different. Any questions you have from that, bring them back, mark it up, bring it into class for sure. I was not aware that they had that available in the dual present and past, but yeah, go for it if you've got it. Okay. Bien, ¿hay más o no? ¿Nada? Ok. Bueno, a ver. Magnífico. Vamos a hablar un poquito primero. We're going to talk first a little bit about what you found in here because I had given you some page numbers to look at. And oddly enough, the chapter where they put gustar does not say gustar at all. It says the indirect object. Well, what the heck do they do that for? Okay. Normalmente, en una clase en el colegio, in a high school class, gustar would be in its own little chapter, and it would be called a chapter on gustar. But as you notice, they did not call this a chapter on gustar, and that is because there are a lot of verbs, not just gustar, but a lot of verbs that are built on the syntax of how we use gustar. So we're only going to focus really today on gustar, encantar, interesar, those three. Gustar, encantar, interesar, because they're going to build on the same thing, but we're going to focus on gustar first. There are a lot of verbs that behave like gustar, that use the same word structure or word order, or they conjugate in the same way as just a singular or a plural as gustar. All right, so that chapter has that name, the indirect object, because all of them use what we call an indirect object. Now, I don't really care at this point that you know the ins and outs of what an indirect object is. In short, an indirect object means that a human being receives the action of the verb, and that indirect object pronoun will be, and I will put it in the chat box here, one of these words. It will be either me, te, le, les, nos, and if you're in Spain, but if you're not in Spain, os. You know, if you're not in Spain, only Spain uses os. Os is that plural of te. It's a you guys kind of pronoun, as opposed to te being a you, one person pronoun. So those are the indirect object pronouns that I put in the chat box there. Me, te, le, les, nos, os. Those little words, because they're indirect object pronouns, they mean that the action of the verb is happening to that person. Okay? Like I'm giving something to somebody. Okay? And that's all they mean. So what's important for you to know is not so much the grammarese of it, but to know that these little words, me, te, le, les, nos, or os, they will all precede the form of gustar. They have to, gustar can't be used by itself. Okay? It can't be used in isolation by itself. It has to be used with one of those pronouns, because those pronouns have a job, and their job is to tell who likes something. That's what their job is. But again, this is one of those things where you need to know the words linked together, that the words are not used in isolation. Okay, A ver. And trying to find the right pronoun page. Okay, aquí, or right web page here. Vamos a ver. Let's take a quick look. So this web page, and I'm going to give you a link for it later. It's a pretty long web page. It's got all kinds of preambles. But they term this a little bit differently as block 1 and block 2. Does everybody see how they call it block 1 and block 2? And actually, the way they present this is a little bit different from the way your book presents it, but that's okay. When they have person, they want you to think of who likes something. So this very left-hand column of person, I'm going to see if I can make this just a touch bigger. Sí, mejor. This person column way on the left never gets used if you want to express these ideas. That left-hand column, the person column, they're referring to the person who likes something. But unfortunately, all those pronouns like yo, tú, él, ella, usted, naming somebody like Maria or nosotros or ellos, ellas, that's normally what we think of when we say who likes something. In English, that's what you would use to express that somebody likes something. But none of those pronouns, which you would think would be okay, none of these under the person column can be used. They've got to come, it's like you would erase them, take a great big Sharpie and X them all out, okay? But you might use something from the block 1, you might use something from the block 2. The block 2 on this page is what's essential. It's going to have to be a combination like me gusta or me gustan. Te gusta or te gustan. Le gusta or le gustan. Those items that you've seen in green, they are linked. They must be there. They cannot be skipped, omitted, or put in a different order. They have to be there, okay? So whether you use gusta or gustan is one thing, but that a pronoun has to be used with this verb gustar. You'll never see gusta or gustan used by itself. You might hear things like mucho gusto, but then it's not being used as a verb. Mucho gusto means much pleasure. And it's just what you say when you've met somebody and you want to say, oh, delighted to meet you. Mucho gusto, much pleasure. But gusto is not a verb when you say that phrase, mucho gusto. It means, yeah, pleasure to meet you. That's what it implies. But this gusta, again, it does talk about pleasure, but it talks about something being pleasing to somebody, okay? So the me, te, le, nos, os, or les tells who likes, who is pleased by something, okay? And I don't really like that they use this word, always using the 2 blocks. You will not always hear those 2 blocks used. So let's go back up here. This block number 1 has an extra phrase, an a mí, an a ti, an a él, an a ella, an a usted, an a with the name of a person, an a nosotros, a ellos, a ellas. This block 1, that is optional or emphatic. You may or may not hear people using that. It is not necessary. It's like icing on the cake. The cake's always going to be there, right? Whether you got icing on it or not. But a mí me gusta just makes something more emphatic. So in Spanish, somebody may say, a mí me gusta. And it's like saying in English, I like, and saying it with that happening with my voice, I like, being very, very emphatic about it. So a mí is just an emphatic phrase. It is not necessary. A ti is just an emphatic phrase. It is not necessary. A nosotros is emphatic. It is not. They are hangers on. Anything from this block 1, it's a hangers on. Okay. A él, a ella, a usted, a Maria might be necessary if there is no context, no prior conversation to tell you who we mean with this word le out of the phrase le gusta. And similarly, a ellos or a ellas or a ustedes or a mis amigos might be what they call clarifying phrase. If from context, we do not know who you mean by the word les when you use that chunk of words, les gusta. Bien? So when they say always use the two blocks, it's not necessary, okay? When you see a block like this, if somebody says, a mí me gusta Madrid, they're saying really, they're not really saying I like Madrid. They're saying Madrid is pleasing to me. But we see, we don't use that expression in English ever. We don't, because it sounds weird in English, okay? So we say I like Madrid. We might say, to say a mí me gusta Madrid, I really like Madrid. A mí me gusta. A ti te gusta. A él le gusta. A él might just be clarifying that le means he likes. A ella le gusta cantar might just be clarifying that the le means she, not he, okay? A ellos les gusta el jazz. They like jazz. The a ellos might be needed to tell you that les means they like instead of you guys, all of you like. Okay. A mis padres les gusta la ensalada. The salad is pleasing to my parents. We're saying that les means this group of people, my parents. Okay. So sometimes those phrases with an a that you see in orange are used to clarify or to specify, but they're not absolutely necessary. What you see in the green block is absolutely necessary. We have to have what we call an indirect object pronoun with a form of gustar, okay? So those are the essentials, the I can't skip it phrases. Does that make some sense? See? Bien? Okay. Vale. Gustar is just not like these other verbs that you have used in Spanish, right? Gustar, because it means to be pleasing, is only going to go into one of two forms. You, on very, very rare occasions, hear people use gusta or gustas, but hardly ever, okay? Gustar is going to get only one of two conjugations for most conversational needs. They'll either be gusta or gustan, right? So the pronoun tells who likes it, if you want to think of it that way, and the verb gusta or gustan tells if the thing that is liked is singular or if it's plural. That's the way they use that. So to say I like, it'll either be me gusta, if I like one thing, or I like an activity, or me gustan. To say you like, it'll be te gusta, if you like one thing, or te gustan, if you like something plural. For he or she or you formal like, it'll be le gusta, if what they like is one thing or an activity, or le gustan. Okay, so notice we can combine le, which is a singular pronoun, with gustan, which is a plural verb. The verb talks about the thing that is liked. The pronoun talks about who likes it. Okay. On the plural side, plural for the human being part, you can use nos gusta or nos gustan. You, if you're in Spain, can use os gusta or os gustan. You can use le gusta or le gustan. Okay, so I can mix and match. I can have le gusta Or le gustan, a plural verb, meaning what is liked is more than one, but the human being who likes it is one human being, right? And I can do the flip-flop. I can say, les gusta, they like, but gusta, they like one thing, but les, more than one person likes that thing. Or les gustan, they can be combined in these ways. That makes sense so far? See? Based on the videos you saw and all of that. Bien? Vale?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, we get examples like this, right? Me gusta la música, te gusta la comida picante, le gusta la ropa nueva, le gusta el café, les gusta el otoño, nos gusta México. All of those things that are liked are onesie, singular, by themselves, solo kind of things, right? Música is a singular noun. Comida picante is a singular noun. Mexico is one place, right? And no matter how many activities you like, whether it's one activity or a whole bunch of them, you'll use gusta. So, me gusta montar en bicicleta. Te gusta leer y escribir. It doesn't matter that it's two verbs. As long as it's an activity, we use gusta. Te gusta leer y escribir. Le gusta hablar con él. Les gusta viajar. Nos gusta ver películas. If what you like is an activity, it is gusta. And notice that's not so hard to figure out with me gusta montar en bicicleta. I like to ride a bike. Well, sure, ride a bike. But nos gusta ver películas. Notice that. We're not saying we like movies. We're saying we like to watch. Like to watch movies. So it is correct to say nos gustan las películas. We like movies. Nos gustan las películas. But if we want to talk about watching movies, it's an activity. And it flips into the singular of gustar, which is gustar. Nos gusta ver películas. Bien? ¿Vale? Okay.
The pregunta, por
Sí, sí,
favor.
dime. Sí.
Back to, so, te gusta leer y escribir los libros, if you added the books or unos books, that whatever comes after that.
Irrelevante, irrelevant.
Right.
If you like an action, it's the infinitive. And if you like to do something, it's going to be gusta. Boom. End of story.
Okay.
Okay, so I could say, I could change that sentence, te gusta leer y escribir. I could say, te gusta leer y escribir novelas clásicas.
See, okay.
Even though I've got novelas clásicas, what I like is reading and writing. So because it's an activity, it goes to gusta, boom, end of story. If I take out those actions and I talk just about novelas, then it would be, te gustan las novelas. Eso es. That is the difference. Okay, bien? And then we've got all of our plural examples here. Me gustan las naranjas. I like oranges. Te gustan las flores. You like flowers. Le gustan los animales. He or she, or it might even be you formal, like animals. Les gustan los postres. They like desserts. Nos gustan las fiestas. We like parties. Okay. Bien. So, plural things get gustan, but we're going to talk a little bit about this plural, well, actually about all those categories with this at the end. Aquí, a ver. I think I need to make this a lot bigger because this is going to be hard. Okay. Whereas in English, so here's a little thing that's, it doesn't sound important. It is important if you don't want to sound gringo. How's that? If you omit this little thing, this is kind of an asterisk. If you omit this little word, the el, the la, the los, the las, if you omit it, will somebody understand you? Yes, they will understand you. If you forget about this word, which is the, people will still understand you, but it will sound off. It will sound funny to them. Why? Because it's what they do. Whereas in English, we say, I like oranges, I like plums, I like strawberries, I like bunnies, I like rabbits. I never say I like the bunnies. If I say I like the bunnies, it means it's a specific group of animals, right? I like the dogs. Oh, there must be a group of dogs that I can see over there. I like the dogs. If I say I like the dogs, I'm pointing out kind of a specific group, yeah? But if you say I like dogs, it means all of them. I like dogs. You're talking about the category, right? I like cats, it's a category. I like bunnies. I like that category of animals. I like chocolates. I like all kinds of chocolates. When we talk about a general category like this, using the verb gustar, you must use this word, el or la or los or las, depending on what that category is, okay? In English, we don't do this. If you forget to do this because you're translating in your head, they will understand you, but it will sound off. So whereas we omit in English this word the frequently, when we talk about a big category, we say we like cheese, meaning you like that kind of food. I don't like insects. I don't like that category of little living beings. Do you like pastries? In Spanish, we do have to use this word the when we use the verb gustar. It is what is expected. So will they understand you if you miss it? Yes. Will it sound off to them? Yes. Will they need a beat to think a little bit? Yes, they will, because they're listening for that word and they don't hear it if you omit it. So it's nos gusta el queso. We like cheese. The cheese is pleasing to us, but that's the way it has to be said. No me gustan los insectos. Right? They would not say no me gustan insectos. Now, if you forget, you'll be understood, but it's important to use that word los. ¿Te gustan los pasteles? Do you like pastries? Maybe you're not a sweets person, right? We have to use it as los pasteles. This is something, it's a little word, the word the is usually omitted when we talk about a general category and use the word idea of like, okay? But it will not be omitted in Spanish. Does that make sense? See? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds like it's kind of well, that's sort of a picky thing, but, and maybe it is a picky thing, but it's just the way they express those ideas. Okay. Before we get into practice. A ver. Momentito. Before we get into practice, preguntas, questions on how this works before we start in. And remember, there are going to be like other related family, a whole family. Actually, I can't even tell you how many verbs behave like Gustar behaves. There are tons of them. I mean, I can't enumerate them. If I gave you a list, I would forget, and I'd have more on the list next week, and I'd forget again, and there'd be more on the list the week after that. There are a whole bunch of verbs that behave like, are set up like this, meaning they use a me, te, le, les, nos. and they go either singular or plural. And we're only going to dip our feet into that because we're going to focus on gustar. Bien? Ninguna pregunta. Question? Sí?
Yeah, so it's if you use this gusta, so then you just use the follow. If you use the verb, you use the verb one. You don't change the verb based on the subject, on the the subject, right? So me gusta hablar. So it's like, it's not like it's because it is pleasing to me, then you say hablo.
Actually, in a sense, the sentence works in reverse. It's saying, to me is pleasing this thing, or to me are pleasing these things.
Okay.
So we're used to saying, you know, I like something, but first of all, we don't even have the verb like. We don't have that verb, to like. Okay, so we kind of have to take that off the drawing board. It's not there. Okay, but the thing that is like actually is way at the back of the sentence, isn't it? So the order of the words, I know. Pastries are pleasing to me. The order of the words will be, to me, they are pleasing pastries. That's the way it's phrased. So the thing you like will never lead off the sentence. Is that?
No, I mean, I'm just asking. It's like, you know, you use gusta or gustan, and then, you know, there is the verb that follows to it, like ver, comer.
Oh, the verb that follows. Okay.
So it's all, you don't change the
no, it's
the
always
verb.
gusta with a verb, no matter how many verbs. So if you say he likes.
So you don't change the verb based on the me, te, so that means that it's like to me, to you. So it's like you don't use like
Gusta
this
being
based on
singular.
you, to. So you
Gusta,
don't.
Gusta being singular depends on the thing that is liked, not on the human being who likes it.
Okay.
So gusta always matches up with actions, meaning if I use an infinitive. Now that's really your question, right?
So yeah, so I would say like me gusta leer. I always say leer because leer, sorry.
Me gusta leer. Me gusta leer. Me gusta tomar café. Me gusta ponerme crema en el verano. I like wearing this, see? But these are called audífonos, plural, audífonos. They are headphones. Audífonos, headphones.
Okay.
Me gustan, because they're plural. There are two pieces, one for each of my ears. Me gustan los audífonos. Me gustan los audífonos. Pero, me gusta usar los audífonos.
Okay.
Me gusta usar los audífonos. Pero, me gustan los audífonos, because there are two pieces to this. See? Vale?
Okay.
Pregunta.
Sí, sí.
So, with the when you use la and el, the word, you wouldn't use it when you're doing an action, like me gusta hablar español.
Because infinitives don't get
okay.
the end.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So, me gusta leer. Me gusta escribir. Me gusta dibujar. I like to draw.
Yep.
Me gusta plantar flores. Me gusta plantar y regar flores. Me gusta plantar, plant, y regar, water. Y regar las flores. I like to plant and water the flowers. Bien.
Got it. Yep.
Me gusta Levantar pesos. I like to lift weights. Me gusta levantar pesos. Y correr. Me gusta levantar pesos. I like to lift weights. Y correr. And to run. So no matter how many activities I like, it's just me gusta. But when they're actual things you can count, like me gustan las plantas verdes. I like green plants. Me gustan las flores rojas. I like red flowers. Then it's got to be me gustan because the thing that is liked is plural. Yeah? Is that better? Did I answer those questions or not? If not,
You answered mine.
hold my feet to the fire.
Pregunta.
No? Larry? See?
So me gusta andar. I like to walk, but if I like walking, would it be me gusta andando?
No. Larry, qué buena pregunta. You bring up a good point. Andando or caminando would mean walking, but when we use walking as a noun, and when we use it like walking is a healthy activity, right? They won't use the ing word that we use in English. Walking is now a noun. Walking is healthy, right? Andar es bueno para la salud. Andar es una actividad sana. When we use walking as a gerund that is a noun, it goes into the infinitive. I know. We use the ing when it's paired up with estar. Estoy andando. Están andando. Estamos caminando. Estamos manejando el carro. Estamos manejando el carro. We are driving the car, right? Meaning it's something we're doing right now. Pero, manejar en la autopista es difícil. Driving on the highway is difficult. And now I'm talking about driving, not saying somebody is doing it, but just the action of driving. See, they plug in the infinitive there instead. Even though in English, we don't do that. And that's why you can't translate word for word. I know it looks like it should be manejando. Manejando es difícil. No, manejar es difícil. Driving is difficult because I'm now using driving as an activity. And it becomes the infinitive. Okay, ¿bien?
Sí.
¿Más preguntas? No? Okay, vamos a ver. We're going to go through some quickie stuff, and then we're going to get you into practice one-on-one. And okay, we're going to see if you can. Bien, sí. A ver. They're going to give you choices here. So this is the easy level. Comer repollo. Repollo es cabbage. ¿Cómo se dice I like? I like to eat cabbage. It'll either be me gusta, me gusta, me gusta.
Me gusta.
Me
Me
gusta.
gusta.
Me gusta, me gusta. You gotta have me gusta. It can't be me gusta, it's gotta be me gusta, okay? It can't be me gusto. Me gusta out of everything in that list sounds totally weird to somebody. Me gusta, I'm pleasing to myself. Icky, don't go with it. Okay. Juan. Juan. ¿Cómo se
Me
dice?
gusta.
Le gusta, le gusta. Always think of those words as linked. They've got to walk together, right?
Una,
Jeff, tienes pregunta? Jeff, I think you have a question and it froze you for some reason, just so you know. I'm not ignoring you. A Juan le gusta el béisbol. Juan likes baseball. Okay. And the a usted is just a prompt. It's telling you what kind of pronoun we're going to have to use, right? A usted, escuchar
gusta.
la música.
Le
Me
gusta.
gusta.
Me gusta.
Le gusta, le gusta. A usted le gusta escuchar la música. Okay. You like listening. And the focus really is on the listening, and therefore it's gusta, one thing. A nosotros,
Nos gusta.
Nos gustan.
we like their moms. Normally we don't use this with people that much, but es posible. Likes, oh, I like to run.
Me
Me
gusta.
gusta.
Me gusta.
Me gusta correr. A María
Le gusta.
Le gusta.
Gustan.
le gustan los tomates.
Le
She
gustan.
likes tomatoes. And notice, in English, we would say she likes tomatoes, not she likes the tomatoes, but we do need the word the in there. Como no,
And
sí, sí, sí.
pregunta, you use le gustan because Maria is one person,
Because Maria is one person,
but it would be les if it's
right?
two people.
If I made it a Maria y Anita, then it would
Okay,
have to change into les gustan.
okay.
Eso es, sí. This refers to a shopping area, el rastro. Como no, as I don't like this,
No me gusta.
No me
el
gusta.
rastro is an area, it's a neighborhood. Me gusta,
Me
muy
gusta.
pocas veces. Pocas veces, few times. A él
Le gusta.
Le gusta.
Le gusta.
Le gusta.
le gusta comer y bailar, eat and dance, something you might do at a party, right? Even though it's two actions, they're activities. So it's got to be le gusta. A mi hermano no
Le
Le
gusta.
gusta.
le gusta tocar el violín. A él
Les gustan.
Gustan.
Les gustan.
le gustan los libros, le gustan, because a él, he's only one person. Bien, ¿vale? Ok, magnífico. Algo un poquito, un poquito más difícil. A little bit harder. I'm trying to find my next group here. Okay. And bear with me, there are a couple of spacing issues with this website. So, okay. And they give you a prompt. They give you modelo, a model. A mí, and below you see the answers. A mí me gusta la música y a él le gustan los deportes. Right? Me gusta because música is one thing. Le gustan because deportes, sports, plural, is more than one thing, right? The le talks about who likes it. He, one person likes it, and gustan. Okay. And there should be a space here. This is not fresas. There should be a fresas. Fresas are strawberries, and they should separate it from that word e. Somebody forgot to put a space in. Maria likes strawberries. Maria
Le gustan.
le gustan las
me gustan.
fresas. And then we have we should have had a space. Y a mí
Me gusta.
Me gusta.
me gusta el mango. Bien. Okay. Carros pequeños, little cars, small cars, not great big cars. They don't like they don't like small cars.
No les gusta.
Gustan.
Nos.
No les gustan los carros pequeños. They don't like little cars. Oh, they like big ones.
Les
Les gustan.
Les gustan.
Les gustan still. Yeah, same answer, both places there. Okay. We like sci-fi movies. A nosotros
Nos
Nos gustan.
Nos gustan.
nos gustan las películas de ciencia ficción. De ciencia ficción just describes what kind of movies they are.
Science fiction.
Movies are still movies. They're just sci-fi, not romance, not mystery, not police. Okay. A nosotros nos gustan las películas de ciencia ficción. We don't like horror movies.
Nos
Nos
gustan.
gustan.
Nos gustan las de horror. Las de horror means horror flicks, okay? Señorita, ma'am. Uh-oh, I don't know her by her first name. Ma'am, do you like chocolates?
Le
Le
gustan.
gustan.
Le gustan?
Lee,
Le gustan las chocolates. Do you like chocolates, ma'am? And it can't be a te because you're not calling her by her first name.
No.
And now
Me.
she's answering. No,
Me.
no.
Me.
Me gustan.
No me gustan. Bien.
No, me gustan.
¿Qué libros? What books do you like? And it's like maybe a bookstore owner talking to a customer. ¿Qué libros
Me gustan.
Les gustan.
le gustan? Well, a usted. A usted. This is a little odd because they swung this a to the back.
Okay.
Which is not normally the way you would phrase that. Okay. And you want to say, oh, you want to answer that person. I like mystery books.
Me gustan.
Me gustan.
me gustan.
Me gustan.
Gustan.
Me gustan. Los de misterio, the one. Los de me, it refers to books.
Pregunta, Marilyn?
Sí.
The second part of that question, and even going back to the second part of number 3, even though it only says misterio, you assume that libros is part of that?
Bien. Buena pregunta. Good question. Why is it gustan? Because I have de misterio.
Los.
And notice de horror, de misterio. These are descriptions. They are not the thing itself. Las de horror means horror movies. They just don't want to repeat the word películas. So it's a shorter way because we're already talking about movies. Instead of having to repeat the word películas, you're just giving a description. Las de horror. So we're looking at las. We're looking at los. Meaning we don't want to repeat the word libros, books. Los de misterio, mystery ones. Basically is what you're saying. Nora, pregunta.
Guta.
Sí.
On number 4, since señorita's kind of formal, would we really say a usted le gustan? We haven't had any examples with that yet.
Right. And a lot of times they plant that a usted as a prompt so that you know which you were using. In reality, if somebody is talking to you and they're looking at you in the eye, they probably won't say the a usted.
Okay.
They will probably drop it. It is frequent habit to drop that a usted if somebody is talking to you and it's obvious. Okay. Carlos, and they're talking to Carlos using his first name. Okay.
Le gusta.
Le gusta.
And Carlos, they're calling him by his first name. So which you will it be?
Te gustan.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. What do you like to do? What do you like to do on Saturdays? And this is just telling when.
Te gusta.
Me gusta.
Te
Te
gusta.
gusta. It is not saying, do you like Saturdays as opposed to Mondays or Tuesdays? It's saying, what do you like to do?
To do.
Carlos, ¿qué te gusta hacer los sábados? And Carlos is going to reply, I like to play basketball.
Me gusta.
Me gusta.
Me gusta jugar al basquetbol. Bien. And here we've got an a usted prompt. We have a prompt because if they want to say, do you like soccer?
Le
And
Me gusta.
Le gusta. Le gusta el fútbol a usted. And, you know, frankly, I would phrase that if I were saying it as a usted le gusta. Yeah, if I wanted to be emphatic, but the a usted is a prompt. Okay. And the person answers, I only like tennis. Solo
Me gusta.
Me gusta.
me gusta el tenis. Bien, bien. And I think they mean to have a comma here. Michael, wow, why did they not say Miguel? I don't know. Do you like to study Spanish? Do you like to study
Te
Spanish?
gusta.
Te gusta. Te gusta, because we're using Miguel or Michael, it'd be a familiar address, right? And Miguel is answering now. Sí, pero no, but I don't
Me
like
gusta.
verbs.
Me gusta.
Me gustan.
No. Me gusta.
No me gustan, no me gustan los verbos. No me gustan los verbos. Bien. Dos más. Two more. Why don't you like verbs? ¿Por qué no?
Te gusta.
Te gustan.
Te gustan los
Te
verbos. Sin verbos no puedes hablar. Without verbs, you cannot talk. Es una broma. It's a joke. Claro que. Of course, I like verbs. Claro que.
Me gustan.
Gustan.
Uy, wow, that jumped on me. Claro que me gustan los verbos, pero I only like regular ones.
Me
Me gusta.
gusta.
Me
Me
gustan.
gustan solo los regulares. ¿Ok? ¿Vale? ¿Bien? Okay. Bueno, okay, I'm going to send you off to do some actual practice. I want to check out the verb box here. If you want to be a little more, let's say, emphatic, when you express liking something, you can tag on the word mucho. Me gusta mucho, I like a lot. I like doing something a lot. You know, you want to be more enthusiastic about it. Yeah. Me gusta mucho plantar flores. Wow. I really like planting flowers a lot. Me gusta mucho reparar los carros. I like fixing cars a lot. Yeah. So if you want to really just say a lot, the idea of I like doing something a lot, or I like a thing a lot, just tag on the word mucho. Bien? Bien? Okay. I want you to give a top 3 list, not a top 10, because that would take too long. A top 3 list. I'm going to send you off into small groups, and I want you to just talk about actually your top 3. This is a kind of a warm up. Top 3 things that you like the best. Your 3 fave things that you like. It can be an action, it can be a thing, it can be a kind of animal, it can be a kind of food, it could be anything. Okay, so this is going to be a very brief, like a 3 to 5 minute quick one, and then we're going to come back and make it just a little bit harder. Okay, before I send you out, hay preguntas. You're just going to talk about your top fave 3 things, yeah, whatever they may be. Okay, vale? Okay. We're gonna let ¿cuántos somos? How many of this are there? Okay. Okay. A ver. Oh, no, goodness. It's forced me to do everything manually today. No sé por qué. I do not know why. Perdón, I'm sorry. Okay, got it now. Okay, hit your join button. This will be a quickie. Join button. Okay, bueno. You'll need to take yourselves off of mute if you have a question. Coming back from that, we're still waiting on quite a few folks to come back in.
Marilyn Pregunta.
Sí,
I was trying
Tomás.
to, one of my top three was to ride a bike or bicicleta. So would you say to ride a bike rather than bicicleta? So it'd be me gusta and then either to
Montar.
ride. Say it again.
Montar,
Montar.
because you mount a bike.
Okay. Me gusta montar bicycle.
You mount a bike and you mount a horse. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Montar. Sí, exacto. Me gusta montar bicicletas. Sí. Me
Gracias.
gusta montar las bicicletas. Sí, eso es. Bueno, otras preguntas, other questions, because this is a very natural thing that you come out thinking, I know how to do this, and then you come up with a question.
Sí, me gustan los pasteles de chocolate. Chocolate, pero no es at the end, or es at the end of chocolate.
De chocolate. De chocolate. De, and the key is de chocolate just tells the flavor.
Of
De chocolate is a description, right? The thing itself is the pasteles, right? But the de chocolate tells what kind.
Got it.
De chocolate, and it's just de chocolate. Bien, buena pregunta. Más preguntas. No such thing as a bad question, really, with these. No such thing. Sí, Trish.
My question doesn't have to do really with me gusta and all of that, but it does have to do with the homework. The nunca, I mean, if it's okay if I ask it now.
Sure.
She said at one point, if it's negative, the adverb goes at the end of the sentence. And then right after that, Cody said nunca.
Yes, I noticed that too.
Oh, good.
Yes, I noticed that too.
I tried to figure
that
it
did
out.
not mean he was wrong. Now I will tell
Okay.
you, he said that because he hears her say it in that word order, and that is correct. So the thing is, and you know what, we're going to have to do this in the summer because there's kind of a long answer to this. If we take the special negative word, which nunca is a special negative word, I prefer to call it a special negative word rather than telling you it's some adverb, because who the heck knows an adverb, right? If I use a special negative word like nunca, there are two things that I can possibly do. I can make it a double negative. No camino nunca en el desierto. I never walk in the desert. Or if I want to use that special negative word by itself, not as a double, but by itself, solo, I can move it up in front of the verb, and then it can stand by itself.
Okay.
It can stand by itself as a special negative if it comes up in front of the noun. So it is correct both ways to say no camino nunca en el desierto, or nunca camino en el desierto. Nunca, special word, nunca camino. Nunca, special word in front of the verb, nunca camino. And both of those things are appropriate and accurate and okay, grammatically correct. Bien, buena pregunta. Okay, and we'll have to come back to that idea of nunca when we get back. Okay, a ver, más preguntas o no? I'm going to send you, oh, sí, Nora.
We were talking in our little group, when you do the amemi, I was trying to emphasize that I like the city of Flagstaff. Would that be appropriate to use the ame?
A mí. Oh, a mí me gusta Flagstaff. Sí. A mí me gusta Flagstaff. Right. You want to be a little more emphatic? Tag on the ami, and you'll notice the ami or the ati, it will lead off. It will, if you want to use it in general, lead off with that. Bien. Buena pregunta. Más preguntas.
Can you use it like towards someone too? Like, you know, if you like the actress or you like the singer, so me gusta, and then you just mention the name of someone?
You could do that. There is something a little bit different that we use with people. I don't think I'm going to get to that today.
Okay.
But if you just like an actress, okay, there's something different you use with people. It'll be a different verb. We'll come back to that in the summer. That is something that is used if you're talking about like you met somebody, you know, somebody you actually met, somebody in a group, your kids' friends. You know, I like my kids' friends, right? Actually, there's a different verb we generally use rather than gustar for talking about liking human beings. I like this person. But if I like this actress, you can use gustar. Yeah, you can use gustar for that. See, I want to send you back out, but using not just me gusta. I want to send you back out, and I want you to talk about people other than yourself to make sure you know the other pronouns. I want you to talk about, and I'm going to type it in the chat box here. And you're going to lead off with the phrase. So do take little tiny notes, but there won't be a lot of notes. A mi esposo or a mi esposa. What your husband likes, what your wife likes, what your partner likes. Okay. Any one person. If you want to talk about your best friend, you can plug in a mi mejor amigo. I want you to talk about what one person likes. Okay. I want you to next talk about what a plural group likes. Pick either a mis hijos, what my kids like, a mis nietos, what my grandkids like, because grandkids always have special things, right? A mis amigos, if you don't have grandkids or kids, what my friends like. I want you to talk about what one person likes, what a group of people like, right? And the last thing, I want you to talk about using nos somehow. What my family and I like, what we as a group like. A mi familia y a mí, and that is a mouthful of a phrase, so forget that. That's just to give you the context. Don't say that phrase, the last one. A mi familia y a mí, because that is a long, long phrase. Just know that how to say we like, talking about your whole family group. Whether it's extended family, immediate family, no importa, doesn't matter, but just that, okay? Bien? So you're going to talk about 3 groups of people, what we like, talking about your whole family, what they like, meaning, you know, whether it's friends, grandkids, whatever, and what one person likes. So you make sure you use the right pronoun. Bien? Okay. We're going to do a good 5 minutes for this. Ooh, you may need to hit your join button. Yay, I think we're just waiting on a couple of folks to come back.
I'll tell you, Larry, Jeff, and I are geniuses with this Gustar stuff.
Okay. Magnifico, me alegro. I am very happy to hear that. It is a very, very common thing for people to talk about, of course, things that you like and don't like. It's just one of those conversational things. Okay, bueno, unos más. We've still got about 3 or 4 coming in. Aquí vienen, here they come. Aquí vienen, aquí vienen, aquí vienen. Magnífico. Okay, make sure you take yourselves off of mute. ¿Hay más preguntas? Any other questions come up in doing these? Nora, sí.
We were getting a little confused with one of my sentences, at least I was getting confused, where I said, a mi familia y a mí nos gusta, we couldn't decide if it was gusta or gustan, visitar y comer.
Visitar is an action. Boom. Gusta.
But you had also, we like to get together and eat.
Doesn't matter how many activities. If it's an activity, it's gusta. Boom.
Okay.
End of story.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the way you have to think of it. Is it an action? Boom, it's gusta. That's it. Eso es. Nos gusta visitar y comer. Nos gusta visitar y preparar un picnic. You know, anything like that. Sí, eso es. Buena pregunta. Good question. Anything else? ¿Algo más? No. Okay. Sí, Cindy, dime.
I was saying my friends. So mis amigas, it has to be.
A mis amigos. A mis amigos.
A mí.
A mis amigos. We need that little we need that little if we talk about the human being in particular. Sí.
Okay.
A mis amigos les gusta. A mis amigos les gustan. Depende, ¿sí?
Okay. Thank you.
De nada. This is actually a pretty big topic. We're not getting to everything I had planned. That is, I overplanned. But we'll come back to this. We'll pick up where we left off with this, because where I really wanted to go is, and we'll start off with this next session. I want to talk a little bit about too, next time we get back together. Wait a minute, what if you really don't like something? And what is a polite way to express that so it doesn't come off as, oh, I don't like it, right? So it doesn't sound like that to somebody, because that is kind of a cultural thing. So when we pick up, we're going to talk about that, about talking about likes, and then how to make it the flip side, the dislikes. Yeah. And how to do that politely, because actually there is a thing about that. I was hoping we would get to it today, but we did not. And how to morph this into a couple other things to talk about what's interesting to us and what we really love, not just what we like, but what we love. So what I didn't get to today was going to be the piece about me encanta, just a couple of the verbs, but not all of them, a couple of them that act like gustar. So we'll pick up where we left off essentially and do that. We'll talk about doing the flip side, the negative part of that, because sometimes, you know, maybe because of allergies, because you just can't take it, there are things you don't like, but when you're expressing that to someone, you want it to come off sounding in a nice way, because gustar has a very strong kind of feeling to it. Okay, and so when you make it negative, it's going to sound kind of like that. And how to not make it sound like in your face is what we're going to do when we come back, because sometimes you do need to express that. And there are good ways to do that and not so great ways to do that. So we want the subtlety so that we sound, you know, so we sound like chill people. Yeah. And non-gringo, yeah, okay.
That's
So
not gonna help.
we're gonna have a week off. You know, don't look for a Zoom invitation for this week. We'll have a week off, and then we'll come back and pick up with that. And you'll be going out and doing lots of separate room pieces with these little items of how to do the negative side and how to work in a couple of other verbs that are like gustar. Not all of them, but a couple of them. ¿Está bien?
Está bien.
I will ask you on this hiatus week that we will have off to check into getting the new book, whichever one it is, whether it's Mi Propio Auto, I don't really care which one you get, or El Escape Cubano, either one. ¿Está bien?
Está bien.
Está bien.
Magnífico.
Hasta luego.
Sí, hasta luego. Fue un placer. It was a pleasure. Enjoy your little week off.
Gracias.
Muchas
Thank you.
Gracias. Gracias.
Hasta luego.
De nada. Es un placer. Es un placer.
Adiós.
Ciao, amigos.
Hasta luego.
Yes.
Hasta luego.